Before we begin, a couple things need to get out of the way. One, shouts out to my brother Ticket for putting this content out early this morning about this situation here. And second, there may be content on this video that might be traumatizing to some viewers. And just want to point out that viewer discretion is advised. So, we have a situation here where we have an individual who dreams of playing in the NBA almost came to a screeching halt. The individual you see here on the thumbnail, he goes by the name of Terrence Shannon Jr. He is a college standout at the University of Illinois, where he had to endure over this past 8-9 months. It's pretty insane. This man had a 6-game suspension. Even when he got reinstated from suspension and was allowed to play basketball again, everywhere he went, all the cities he played in, every arena, he had to hear "no means no chance." Damaged draft stock, and was left off an All-American team, all because of a lie. A lie. What's up, Ted? Salute to you. And, I do these kind of videos because there needs to be more accountability for the individuals who make these false allegations. So let me understand something. Terrence Shannon Jr.'s name could be put out there and his name could be raked through the coals and he could be subjected to all kinds of slander and disrespect. But the person who made the allegation, nothing happens to her. Her identity needs to be protected. Her personal safety needs to be taken into account. But what about Terrence Shannon Jr. Name and personal safety? What about his? Don't he get a say in the matter? Don't this man get a chance to defend himself? And it's unacceptable to where this guy's name can be slandered, but yet the person who made the allegation, she has to be protected. It's unacceptable. And for all the people out there that was jumping the gun and didn't give the man a chance to have his day in court and was, basically taking his name and throwing all kinds of dirt on it, you need to apologize. Your apology need to be just as loud as the disrespect. So coming from the Lawrence Times, I'm going to share my screen real quick. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button and support the channel. Because see, there needs to be more, this content needs to be put out. Right? So, give me 1 second here. But this is the article we're going to talk about when it comes to this particular story. So after only 90 minutes of deliberation, jurors Thursday afternoon found an Illinois basketball player not guilty of sexually assaulting a woman at a Lawrence bar in September. Now, the alleged incident took place after a football game that Terrence Shannon Jr. attended. So the aforementioned name had been accused of groping and digitally penetrating. So for those of you that don't know what that means, basically fingering a woman. When you put your finger in a person's vagina, that's digitally penetrating. An 18-year-old woman without her consent at the Jayhawk Cafe, the Hawk, at 1340 Ohio Street. He had been charged with rape for engaging in intercourse with a woman who did not consent or who was overcome by force or fear. In the alternative, one count of aggravated sexual battery. Reactions were mixed after the verdict when court was dismissed. The woman who made the complaint, the unnamed woman, I might add, walked out quickly with the woman who had accompanied her to the bar that night. They sat in the courtroom during closing arguments with the friend's sister and mother. Shannon's friends and family quickly surrounded him to hug and express relief. Moments after the verdict, Shannon's mother, Trinette Redding, said that the family was ready to move on. After also leaving the courtroom quickly after the verdict were Douglas County District Attorney Suzanne Valdez and Deputy DA Joshua Seaton, who were unable to serve as prosecutors on the case because of a scheduling conflict. Senior Assistant DA Ricardo Leo and Assistant DA Samantha Foster took over the case last week in place of Valdez and Seaton. After the verdict, Leo said that the DA's office had no comment on the case outside of the Judicial Law and Enforcement Center. Defense attorneys Tricia Bath and Mark Sutter said they were pleased with the outcome. Sutter said there were no immediate plans to seek damages against anyone involved in the case, and he and his colleagues were planning to circle the wagons and consider their options once he returns to Chicago. Shannon was the final witness to take the stand on Thursday, detailing events of the evening and definitively denying that he touched his accuser or any other woman on the evening of September 8th or in the early morning hours of September 9th. He vehemently denied that he never touched, pulled over, raped, or sexually assaulted the alleged victim. Testimony over 3 days broke down the events of the evening. On Thursday, Shannon said that he and a teammate intended to travel 6 hours from Champaign, Illinois to Lawrence for the KU Illinois football game on the evening of September 8th. The two were accompanied by a graduate assistant whose job it was to be sure that the basketball players traveled safely and returned in time for an athletic event the next morning. Shannon said he met KU players Hunter Dickinson. Now, Hunter Dickinson was a transfer. Hunter Dickinson played at Michigan, so he's actually a transfer. And Kevin McCullough, with whom he knew through their basketball careers at various universities. Yeah, because with Michigan played in the Big Ten, so of course they're going to see each other multiple times. Let me look up real quick, see where Kevin McCullough played at. Hold on. So Kevin McCullough played college ball at Texas Tech, who's in the Big 12. He transferred to Kansas, right? So, anywho, so they arrived at Memorial Stadium approximately 30 minutes before the 7:30 kickoff. After the game, Shannon, his teammate, and the graduate assistant traveled to McCarthy Hall, where they shot with the 3 shot baskets and drank several shots of whiskey. Now, sometime before 11 p.m., Shannon and his companions went to the Hawk with Dickinson, McCullough, and several other KU players, where they spent several hours in the bar's basement martini room. It was just after midnight, near a back wall in the martini room. The woman in question alleged in her testimony that she was touched without consent. Shannon said he and his Illinois companions left the Hawk around closing and started their 6-hour drive back to Champaign. It was after practice the next day. Shannon testified that he was told he had been accused of an incident in the bathroom of the Jayhawk Cafe. Now, Lawrence Police Detective Joshua Leitner, who was assigned as lead detective for the case, set up a time to speak with Shannon, but the call was canceled when Leitner was called to Florida on another case. Shannon said the call was rescheduled. He never spoke with Leitner. Okay, so this is where the detective who handled the case, this is where things started to go awry, in my opinion. Now, in late September, Shannon was served with a search warrant, and officers took swabs from Shannon's mouth to test for DNA. Shannon said during the process he noticed that his name was spelled wrong and the warrant made no mention of a bathroom. So here we go again, right? Because see, in my opinion, it shouldn't just stop with the person who accused Shannon of this heinous act. It should also be on the police, because you got police out here botching paperwork. So you got a detective here that's botching paperwork. That right there alone invalidates the whole case. Forget the we'll get to the DNA evidence later. But the fact that this warrant, you got this botched warrant with misspelling, with misspellings of a person's name, and also the fact that you have a situation where it wasn't specific to why they wanted DNA evidence. So that right there alone invalidates the case. You got an invalid search warrant, and when you have an invalid search warrant, that pretty much throws your case out the window. But as I've said it once and I've said it 1,000 times. If you're black, you're guilty to proven innocent. If you're white, though, you get the benefit of the doubt. Another thing I say 1,000 times, you don't live under a system of rules and regulations, you live under a system of white supremacy. So this person who made this allegation gets protected. We don't know who she is. The media nor the people who knows the individual is revealing her name. And then we got media outlets, and I can guarantee you that come draft night, Malika Andrews is going to bring this up. I guarantee you, her freaking behavior is why I'm making this projection. Her past behavior of doing this. Remember with Brandon Miller last year? When she brought up an incident with Brandon Miller, and Brandon Miller ain't had nothing to do with it, that incident took place at the University of Alabama. Now, Brandon Miller was never charged. He was never convicted of a crime or even believed to even commit a crime. But Malika Andrews felt the need to bring it up because of quote-unquote journalistic integrity. I guarantee you Malika Andrews will bring this up, because that's how bitter and the self-hating individual that she is. Watch what I tell you. Watch come draft night. Anyway. So Shannon, who was the oldest of 8 children, told the defense attorney Trisha Bath his mother didn't tolerate bad behavior. He said that prior to this incident, he had never been charged with a crime. He said the one time he did have contact with authorities was in the 5th grade when he and a friend were caught trying to steal a bag of Snickers. Among the athletes with Shannon in the Martini Bar on September 9th was Arterio Morris, who was briefly accused of a similar assault at the Hawk less than 2 weeks before Shannon visited Lawrence. An investigation into that incident was underway when allegations were made against Shannon. See, the incident at the Hawk, allegedly involving Morris, however, was set aside after he was charged September 29th with raping an 18-year-old woman in his McCarthy Hall residence a month earlier. Now, Morris was immediately dismissed from the KU roster. The rape charge against Morris was dropped by the district attorney in April for insufficient evidence. Now, prior to Shannon's testimony, Illinois assistant coach Tim Anderson took the stand to discuss his relationship with Shannon as a coach and mentor for the past 10 years. Anderson called Shannon humble, shy, and reserved as a person. He said he was quote-unquote crushed when he heard the accusation and believed there had been some kind of mistake. The Shannon he knows, he said, is not the kind of person who would do such a thing. However, Anderson said that he's also aware of the challenges that faces athletes and young black men in society. So you can do everything to help someone and put them in the right situation. You can get them in the right place, but I'm more scared of the world when they go out the door. If you do this guy, you wouldn't say that before breaking down in tears. Now, Leo uses closing arguments to highlight the perks that come with being a Division I athlete. He said that although the alleged victim in the case was seeking normal college experience, she came into contact with a person who was no longer used to being told no. She wanted that typical college time. Mr. Shannon is not a typical college student. So this where the lawyer here is trying to paint a picture of Terrence Shannon Jr. being this larger-than-life athlete, in which, yeah, he's playing college ball, but he's no different than anybody else to go to that university. He still got to get his grades, right? He still got to maintain academic requirements, and he has to maintain athletic requirements. It's not like he could just walk in and he just walk, and the seas part and he could just walk on water and all that. But that's what this attorney here trying to paint him out as, right? And it's disgusting. But then again, a lawyer's job is to win cases, not to present facts. Because if it was about presenting facts, then this case shouldn't even made it to trial. The prosecutor should have looked at the case, looked at the evidence and all that, and based on the fact that you had a warrant that was botched and the fact that the DNA evidence came back inconclusive, the prosecution or the DA, whoever they handled the case, should have looked at this and be like, there's not enough here to charge him. It should have been this case should not even have made it to court. But like I say, a lawyer's job is to win cases, not to present facts. Period. There's no reason why this case should have made it to court. No reason. And yet, we need to railroad somebody. We need to make an example out of somebody. So we're just going to run with it. Now, Sutter highlighted the lack of physical evidence in the case, as well as he's characterized as little effort by Leitner to investigate the case, calling the detective lazy and incompetent. Now, Sutter says Shannon was fortunate to have the resources to hire attorneys and pay for investigators who was able to refute assertions made by police and DA and expert witnesses to analyze DNA and telephone data. This is a travesty, not a trial. The ones who are pursuing a case like this with little to no evidence need to be called out. In my opinion, a case like this should have not been charged at all. Like I said, after the verdict, Shannon was released from his bond. He remained out of custody for the duration of the case. Now, look at this. This man was a lottery pick, probably like a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. This bullshit allegation that came out against him and the process of getting suspended, getting told no means no while playing in games, being left off the All-American team and all that off of bullshit allegations or whatever. And yet that girl who made that allegation, her name is protected. Why are you protecting her? What's up, y'all? Mark Wunderlich. Big Wash in the building. You know what I'm saying? Good to see you, bro. Why does her name get protected? So we're going to make Terrence Shannon Jr. out to be some raging sex predator. You have no DNA evidence to tie this man to the crime. You got a botched search warrant with misspellings and no specifics on why he's being having a warrant being served to him, and yet we're going to railroad this guy. We're going to have people on mainstream media and social media put this man's name through the grill. And yet, none of them clowns going to come back and say that I'm sorry for saying what I said. None of them going to do that. None of those people is going to come back and say, I'm sorry for what I said about Terrence Shannon Jr. Oh, don't worry. I'm going to get to that. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, Big Wash. We're going to get to that. I'm going to talk about that in another video. But this is unacceptable. This is disgusting. But you guys let me know what y'all think about this, man. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. Shouts out to the LDBC. This your man. Scream at me. Oh!